White shores and woodlands of the north, its history of copper mines and iron ore, the Great Lakes fishery. To the farmlands of the southern counties we'll look around, my friend, and all that waits the sportsman in the state of Michigan. And sometimes when the moon brings out the diamonds in the snow, and the stillness of the forest lies encased in Arctic cold, the wind might whisper through the trees, listen if you can, it tells you all the beauty in the state of Michigan.
Hi there, come on in. It's Thursday night, July 15th, 2004. Breaking news on the subject of our state bird. You thought it was the robin? Wrong. Michigan hasn't had an official state bird for 71 years. Kirtland's Warbler advocate Len Stutman will explain his discovery that we've been state birdless all this time. Zachary has some interesting outdoor news about the strange agreement on Michigan's dove season. Representative Susan Tabor says a compromise was not necessary. And we have a lot more, so you stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost with a summer show for the Practical Sports. Last week I said I'd talk about flaws in the law regarding three issues you might have read about in the news lately. Issue number one, a state representative is bothered by other politicians who are trying to use sportsmen's money that's supposed to be earmarked for the benefit of sportsmen. For example, when the legislature passed the law establishing hunting and fishing licenses, they said that all the money was to go into a restricted fund that would only be spent on hunting and fishing. Now, there are about 50 different restricted funds that the DNR is in charge of that some politicians are trying to get into. Well, this state representative said they shouldn't do that. He told the Michigan Outdoor News that right now the funds are protected by statute, but there's no penalty. We want to put it in the Constitution to give it some teeth. By guaranteeing these funds through the Michigan Constitution, it will be much tougher for someone to transfer those funds. Hey, there's really no flaw in the law. It's just that the legislature isn't doing its job to protect those funds. The Constitution can't fix that because the Constitution spells out the fundamental rights of the people and it describes how Michigan's government is set up. Now, as far as finances and funds and accounting, the Constitution gives all that power to the legislature. Now, this state representative says, right now the funds are protected by statute, but there's no penalty. Hey, hold it. The Constitution gives the legislature power to pass statutes with penalties. If the legislature doesn't pass laws with teeth, hey, that's their choice. They can change laws and they can add teeth any day they want. So putting the blame on the Constitution or saying that a constitutional amendment is needed to fix things, that's political double talk. The problem is not a lack of teeth in the laws. It's a lack of backbone in the legislature. And a constitutional amendment won't fix that. Issue number two, a township in a western Michigan county sued a client of mine for building a deer blind on the back corner of their 40 acres of fields and woods, kitty corner from their home. Now, the zoning ordinance says no structure shall be erected until a building permit has been obtained. Well, they didn't get a building permit for the 6x6 deer blind because they don't feel the deer blind qualifies as a permanent building or a structure under the ordinance, which says anything constructed or erected which requires permanent location on the ground or attachment to something having such location. The ordinance calls that a building or a structure. But by this definition, anything from a birdhouse to a doghouse to a tree stand can be called a structure. And the township said just because it can be moved doesn't mean it's not permanent, but the ordinance doesn't define what permanent means. The ordinance also says there shall be side yards. No side yard shall be less than 30 feet, and nothing can be built in a side yard, which means landowners can't put up any structures within 30 feet of their property lines. That applies all the way around my client's 40 acres. Well, last week in a preliminary hearing, the circuit court judge said the township automatically wins without going to trial because the ordinance is indisputable and constitutionally sound. Well, obviously, we're appealing this decision. Otherwise, your township could have more control over your little deer blind than you ever imagined. And issue number 3. This really isn't a flaw in the law. There's a flaw in everybody's assumption that there was a law. Everybody thought the legislature would have to dump the robin as our state bird in order to make the Kirtland's Warbler the state bird. But Kirtland Warbler advocate Len Stutman found that Michigan has not had a state bird for over 70 years. Here's why.
We don't have a state bird because in 1931, the Michigan legislature, voted the robin to be the state bird by resolution, not by statute. And what happens is resolutions terminate in 2 years. 2 years. So in 1933, no more state bird.
Really?
Yeah. The robin is the state bird by default, really.
So they've been putting it on the maps and everywhere else.
But officially it's not viable. In fact, we don't have to repeal anything if we make the Kirtland's Warbler the state bird. So we're pushing the Kirtland's Warbler because the year after the robin was no longer the state bird, they discovered in 1934 that the Kirtland Warbler only nested in Michigan. It is God's gift to Michigan. It is unique to this state only.
Next week, Len Stutman will argue his case for the Kirtland's Warbler as the state bird, and I'll cover other pressing issues regarding sportsmen and the law.
To find this week's featured county, we have to head to the western end of the Upper Peninsula. Flowing through this county is a river the Indian residents called Ontonagon. Over the years, it became Ontonagon. In Ojibwe, the word Onagon means dish or bowl. The mouth of the Ontonagon River was shaped like a bowl where it flowed into Lake Superior, according to some historians. Others say the name came from a young Indian girl who was washing dishes at the mouth of the river and she lost grip on a bowl that was swept away by the current. The name Ontonagon was written on a Jesuit map in 1672. The county grew quickly in the late 1700s with the discovery of copper. The boom peaked in 1850, and by 1880 the boom was over. Today you can see the famous Ontonagon boulder on display at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. The huge rock weighs 3,702 pounds and contains over a ton of pure copper. After the copper boom, white pines provided a booming industry for loggers. In 1896, the town of Ontonagon was wiped out by a fire, along with its largest industry, the Diamond Match Company. And the moral of this story is obvious: don't play with matches. Ontonagon is the county seat of Ontonagon County and is located at the mouth of the Ontonagon River. The area is considered the gateway to the Porcupine Mountains, which has the Porcupine Mountain State Park, where you can see over 24 waterfalls and look down on the Lake of the Clouds, a view that has been photographed probably millions of times. The dozens of rivers and inland lakes, the Lake Superior coastline, and thousands of acres upon acres of public wilderness land, Ontonagon County produces a surprising number of entries for our Fish and Game Hall of Fame. If you found this week's featured county interesting, tune in next time because we'll be featuring Montcalm County.
Trevor Crean from Dryden. Oh, this was a one of the youth hunt deals.
Yep, it was. It was the first weekend, or the last weekend before bow actually opened up. Me and my dad went out in a little portable blind, and we sat out there for a while, and he walked in about 5:30 with a doe, and I let him have it.
I guess so. Well, so what do you think about the youth hunt, though? I mean, you were a hunter anyway, right?
Yeah, that was my first ever hunt with a gun. I hunted 2 years with a bow, but that was my first time with a gun.
You're only 14?
Yep.
You look a lot bigger than that to me. Big 14-year-old. Well, okay. Well, that's great. That was Lapeer County, private land. You don't feel like it was an unfair advantage you getting out there a little early?
I don't know about that. I really don't know. You'd have to ask some of the older ones.
Like you don't care.
I don't care.
Hey, they opened the season. They let you do it.
That's right.
You took advantage of it, and you did what you're supposed to do. Trevor, that is great. Well, I hope you got a lot more hunting ahead. Trevor Crean from Dryden. Oh, I just love these.
Really?
I just love these. I was fishing with Leroy's group, Flathead catfish fishing, and I caught one, I don't know, 16 pounds or something, but there's nothing like these. Yours is twice that big. Wow, it's a flathead catfish from the St. Joseph River down in Berrien County. Harvey Mollett from South Haven caught this one. 11 p.m., that's about right, a nighttime deal. And you got the glove on, the cotton glove there with your hand in its mouth. Now, the mouth of a catfish doesn't really have teeth, but it's like sandpaper.
Exactly. Plenty
And-
of it.
Yeah, and there you're holding it two-handed, which is just about the only way to do it. It says you were still fishing using what for bait?
Bluegill, about 8-inch,
8-inch bluegill.
live.
Live, why don't you take the fillets off and then,
I should have. I like bluegills.
well, that's something to take an 8-incher and use it for bait. This was 11 o'clock at night. When do you start fishing, after dark?
Whenever I can get away from home.
You ever considered grabbing the wife and,
Oh no, I go to get away from that. The bugs are bad enough to put up with. I don't need any more problems.
is your dear wife here with you?
Yes. Lumber's out there behind her.
I see. If we hear a door slam, we might say, well, got some bad news, Harvey. Do you fish a lot for these catfish?
Pretty much all summer.
From the shore?
Oh no, I have a boat just high above the log jams and go back. Sat there all night. Maybe 1 bite, 2 bites, who knows?
Do you usually, on a night of fishing, catch one?
About 1, maybe 2, 3, but not very many.
And what do you do with a big flathead like that?
Catch and release.
Do you ever take any back to eat?
No. I catch some small channel cats I may, but not flathead.
But they're just fun because they're so huge.
Exactly.
Well, that is awesome.
It was the longest in the state last year, catch and release, 42 and a half.
That's something else. Well, that's cool. Very cool, Harvey. Well, good luck going back, and might want to get your wife maybe an extra piece of pie or something. Make it a part of your day to get outdoors. It's a great place to be. See you next week.